Thanks so much for joining us here on 90s Plus on this Tuesday. I'm meteorologist Chris Bianchi, and so far today, well, we've seen some blustery conditions in parts of the foothills. Those winds will increase as the day wears on, but for the most part, those winds will be mainly confined to the foothills and the Front Range. In Denver, we could see some gusts up to 35 miles an hour, and also across parts of the Northeast Plains. Other big takeaway from today's forecast is that there will be an increased fire threat as a result of those gusty winds and some fairly warm temperatures for us today as well. Let's take a look outside, and you can see a little bit of a weak mountain wave. You can see those little clouds. Those are caused by a little kind of cap up about 20,000 feet above the surface. And what that's doing, it's forcing the air to kind of rapidly go down across the foothills and the mountains, and the result, some of those blustery conditions that you're feeling down there into Golden, where you're looking at, as well as in some of the nearby foothill communities. Temperatures today will be on the warm side. It will be in the mid to maybe even upper 70s for us in the Denver area. There is high fire danger, so a bad day to have any sort of outdoor burning or anything like that. But this is out ahead of one of two cold fronts going to move through over the next 36 hours or so. One later tonight and another tomorrow afternoon. Those two will kind of bring back our temperatures a little bit. Not exactly a big cool down, but we will see some much cooler temperatures for Thursday in particular. Now for today, we do have that red flag warning, fire weather warning. That's the way to think of it. It's a fire weather warning. Forget about the red flag part of it. Pueblo County as well as on north here through the northeastern corner of the state, where any fire that starts could spread pretty quickly because of one, very dry air mass, two, it being pretty warm, and three, what you're looking at here. Those winds that have been gusting in some cases on up. I was taking a look up at the Dakota Hills, where we've seen some of those gusts into the mid 60s at times. Now, here in Denver, we'll see those winds for us this afternoon, perhaps getting on up into the 20 to 25 mile an hour range before they die back down later on this evening statewide. You can see those winds again cranking at times for us into the Denver area, 25, 30 miles an hour before they mostly calm on down for the rest of your day today. That little band of clouds that you're seeing moving its way through northern Colorado, that is the leading edge of the cold front that's going to drop its way on through the region later on this afternoon, and that will eventually lead to the potential for a little bit of very light rain. Better chance to get some rain and some very high elevation snow as you get on up into the northern mountains. This would be north of I-70, where we do have the potential for some rain, maybe a little bit of light snow above 11,000 feet in elevation. But for most of us, it's just a few raindrops, and that's pretty much it. This is mostly virga, or rain that evaporates before it reaches the ground. You get those kind of big, dark, scary-looking clouds, and all you get out of them, a few raindrops on the windshield. That's what we're looking at later on this afternoon and this evening, and then things clear on out for tomorrow morning. Now, closer look in here at the Front Range. Again, most of the action will be north of Denver. We do have a chance for a stray shower here in town, and what I mean by that, again, a few drops in the windshield, and that is pretty much all she wrote in terms of that chance for any rain for not only today, but pretty much for the rest of the week. We're going to be bone dry for most of the next, well, week plus for us here across eastern Colorado and throughout most of the state as well. Temperatures right now, pretty big gap between what we're seeing in places like Steamboat Springs. That's just behind the front. That's why it's 48 there. And Steamboat, of course, elevation helps a bit there as well. And what we're seeing on the eastern plains, already 81 for us in Ray, 72 in Denver, and 79 in Springfield. Wouldn't be surprised if we get pretty close to 80 here in Denver later on this afternoon, considering we're already starting off on a fairly mild note. Temperatures today will call for 76 for us, increasing clouds. Winds will die back down after dark, so for those of you joining us from Boulder and Golden and Morrison, some of the windier locations, again, after dark, things will really get a lot calmer in terms of those winds later on this evening. Forecast eyes for today, we're mostly looking at those temperatures getting up into the upper 70s, low 80s. This is about 10 degrees above average for this time of year. We're normally 67, 68 for us here in Denver for the second week of the month of October. So again, nothing too exceptionally warm about this. We're not anywhere near record territory, for example, but certainly on the mild side for this afternoon. Mountains, 50s and 60s for the most part, with the exception of the lower elevations in the western slope, where we'll be in the 70s. Tomorrow, a bit cooler behind front one of two. So tomorrow, those highs will top out just the low 70s for us in Denver, and those winds noticeably calmer tomorrow compared to today, but we'll still have at times, especially in the far eastern plains, some periodically blustery conditions for us, and mostly sunny and still fairly mild. This is still above average for this time of year. Around the metro area, 74 Greeley, 71 Lakewood, 70 Parker, 73 Boulder, 68 Pine Junction, and atop Berthoud Pass, 46 chilly degrees. One thing to watch for on Thursday morning is we do have that low right now in the low 40s. I wouldn't be surprised if we drop down to the upper 30s. Some of the computer models hinting at that, and that means we'll be getting into frost territory. We'll have a couple of chances for our first patchy frost of the season here in Denver. Our average first freeze, or 32 or below temperature, is on October the 7th. So this is about the time of year we expect to start to see frost or freeze concerns. And Thursday morning as well as early next week, we'll have the chance for some patchy frost. So probably a good reminder, and I keep saying this, but now's the time to get those sprinklers blown out, as we do have the potential for some frost. And of course, in some of the cooler spots, above 6,000 feet, for example, in Dougco, along the Palmer Divide, as well as some of the kind of low-lying spots at 5,000 feet in elevation or lower, just east of Denver. So that would be kind of Lyman, Fort Morgan, even out by the airport, which is just a little bit lower at times. It depends on exactly where you are, but where you're getting these little cool little valleys areas, that's where we could be seeing those temperatures drop down to about 34, 35, 36, which is getting into the territory of patchy frost. Now, for us here in Denver, kind of an interesting stat. This is our second warmest combined summer and fall to date on record. So this would be our June 1st through October 10th average temperature. It's our second warmest summer and fall combined on record, at least so far. Of course, fall is not full. We're about halfway through fall at this point, and we are at our second warmest fall to date, plus summer on record. Again, that just goes to show, going back to the start of summer and where we're at now here in fall, that this last kind of 4 or 5 months or so, it's been an exceptionally warm period. Most of that going back to that late June, July, August, and September stretch, where we had several rounds of just exceedingly warm temperatures. We hit 100 degrees 5 times. This past summer, we hit 90 degrees or above 67 times this year, which was our third most 90-degree temperatures on record here in Denver. So it's been a fairly warm stretch. The good news is the month of October so far has been on the warm side. I believe we're about 1.5 degrees above average so far here over the first 10 days of the month of October, but we're not as hot as we were comparatively last month and August and July, which were very, very warm months for us here along the Front Range. So hopefully it gives a bit of context about what we've been seeing over these last few months. Meteorologist Lauren Robinson, sitting right behind that TV screen. She'll have an update for you coming up at 9 news at noon. Then meteorologist Danielle Graham will have updates for you coming up at 4, 5, 6, 9, and 10 on the 9 News Family Networks. Once again, meteorologist Chris Bianchi, thanks so much for joining us here on 9 News Plus, and have a great rest of your Tuesday.